Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Fart Fetish Podcast once again. The Fart Fetish Podcast is where we seek to find the answer to what is fart fetish? Where might it come from? How is it enjoyed? And what are the people like who have this fetish and other fetishes too? We do this on the first Friday of every month on most major podcast platforms and at fartfetishpodcast.com. You can also enjoy erotic fart stories, captions, and videos at thefartcloset.com and support the podcast at the same time. That's thefartcloset.com. And now I'd like to welcome Darryl to the podcast. Darryl joins me to talk about his personal experiences in communicating and mutually enjoying fetish activities with romantic partners. He shares with us a bit about the allure of the taboo and private nature of the fetish as we talk about self-acceptance and expressing yourself with the right people. Stick around for it on the Fart Fetish Podcast. Thanks very much for being here, Darryl. Why don't we start with a little bit about yourself and what the fetish looks like for you?
Yeah, sure. The fetish, I think I've had it since I was a teenager. I kind of like the fetish in terms of the intimacy of it and the privacy of it. For like, the double standard that women aren't supposed to, quote unquote, like fart and stuff like that. So letting me in on something so private and intimate is what turns me on about it. So it has nothing to do with like being humiliated or anything like that. It's just being able to share that privacy and intimacy with a woman. So I'll watch porn, and I also do it with my girlfriend. That's pretty much what it is. And the more that a woman can be, seductive about it and kind of play into the I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, the more it turns me on.
I see. I see. So yeah, it's like is the way I read it is like a playing up of that taboo element.
Exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you know when or how this fetish originated for you? Like when did you start thinking about it?
Okay, so I have the earliest memory. It's not in terms of the fetish, but my earliest memory was in elementary school. A girl whispered to me while we were online, like doing something. It was like fourth grade, third grade, and she whispered to me that she farted, and she was like as if it was a big secret. That's the earliest memory I have, and that always stuck with me. So once again, back to the privacy of this thing, the intimacy. Oh, this is a big secret type of thing. And then I don't know, maybe from like a psychoanalytic, more like a Freudian psychoanalytic perspective, probably has to, do it. Everything has to do with your mother. So my mom farted in front of me and stuff, and I'm sure that has something to do with it too. Just finding a woman that would share something that intimate and private with me. That probably has to do with I would say those two things.
Absolutely. That makes total sense. I don't want to get too deep into your personal life, but could you when was the first time like you recalled, like at what age do you remember your mom like farting around you or like, and I'm not saying like, it was a sexual thing, just like my parents were the same way. They're not very taboo orient minded, I guess, is a way to put it. Whereas, they were, using the bathroom with the door open, if they had to fart, they just would. And it wasn't like a focus on it. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't like, it was just kind of life. So when was that for you? Or when did you notice that? Or when did you pick up on your mom doing that?
Kind of like what you just said. It was just kind of a part of life. We always did that too in our household. We just used the bathroom. We farted. It didn't matter. So it's probably more of I'm trying to figure out when I found out how much of a taboo this type of thing was. It probably has more to do with that. And then, wow, like, but in my house, we just do it. My mom does it. It doesn't matter. But I guess, wow, but she does it because I'm her son and it's private and intimate. It's our family. It's our household. But other people aren't doing that in front of other people. So I can't tell you an age, but it's interesting to think about. the family dynamic versus society's standards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned you kind of like the fantasy of the like letting you in on a secret. Is that something you and your current girlfriend play out?
Yes, she does it for me. She knows I like it, and whenever she has to do it, she'll let me know. It's pretty awesome.
That's great. That's really great. And would you say there's like other fetishes or kinks that you really feel like have to go with it for you, or is that kind of just the what you need?
No, nothing has to go with it. It's perfect. It's exactly what I need.
Nice. Talk to me a bit, if you will, about how'd you meet your girlfriend, and how did you, especially how did you broach that fetish topic with her?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I met my girlfriend just I met her on Tinder. Then we went on a couple of dates and then we hit it off really well. And, I really liked her. And then, I don't know, maybe after a couple of months of dating and we got a little more serious, I told her what I was into. And how did I do that? I think I told her, listen, can I share something personal with you? And she said, yeah. At this point, she already told me we already told each other we loved each other, and I think that's a really, from my experience, that's really important. Feeling like you can trust someone, like you have a really deep connection to someone. Whenever I've ever told anyone this, no, because I didn't just tell her, it was people that I was really intimate with, cared deeply about, loved, and then I told them. And she didn't think it was weird at all. She probably she didn't expect me to say that. And I explained it to her kind of how I explained it to you, kind of, because I really thought about this before we are having this conversation. I haven't really thought too deeply about it, but I explained to her that's what I was into, and I hope that she doesn't think I'm weird, and she embraced it.
That's so awesome. That is such a great story. I can't express how much joy that gives me hearing, because it doesn't have to be complicated or anything, unique. It's really just about communication with the right people in our lives, and so glad you have brought such a story to us, and it's worked out for you. That's such great news.
I'm really glad to hear that. And like you just said, communication was key. I had to put myself out there, but I figured, because I've had pretty good luck, not just with my current girlfriend, but with women in general whenever I've told them. And I think the common denominator with all of them is that they care deeply about me. So when I told them, I think they wanted to please me. They cared about me. That, I mean, that's the common denominator with all of them. I think if you find someone that you really care about and they care about you, they might try anything for you. I mean, it's not really harmful.
Yeah,
you know?
no, exactly. There's really no harm in being honest with people, especially people you love. I think there's nothing more important. But if we want to just talk about, like, yeah, if it's not going to hurt, absolutely, yeah, definitely communication. Give it a shot if you haven't, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you know what? I've had a bad experience with the girl that I was dating for. We dated a total of like 4 years, and when she did it, I can tell she wasn't very comfortable with it. She did it just to appease me, and it was very obvious that she did not like it. And so I didn't like the experience either.
Of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really work when it's forced. But you know what? I do have to give kudos to her giving it a try, It may not have been her something she's into, but it does really speak to the level of care and the relationships you've built. It really speaks to that.
Absolutely. And she was the exception though, with if I counted them, maybe five women that I dated that did this for me. She was like one out of the five that wasn't really feeling it.
Damn, that's pretty amazing though. With the other women, were they all like? Did you meet them all over Tinder or other apps, or how were all of those like met? Did you meet all those women the same way, or?
Various dating sites. I met two of them at college. One of them I just explained. That was the bad experience. Another girl at college too. She was down to do it. It was like it was nothing to her. She was like, yeah, okay. She thought it was funny. Other girls I met online, and then I actually two of the girls that I met online actually told a little quick because we were sharing fetishes like we so through online when we were getting to know one another. So I felt pretty comfortable since we were like sharing different things we were into, and I told them, and they were okay with it, and then they were sending me videos.
That's cool. That is so cool. That is what was your first fetish experience in college? Like one of the ones you just relayed, or was it earlier than that?
Yes, in college.
Okay, cool, cool. What was that? What was it? Can you relay it? Like, how was that, or how did that one come about specifically?
Yeah, well, one of them was the one I told you about. I had a 4-year relationship with her. Then when she finally did it and I told her about it, it wasn't the best experience. And then after that relationship, I met another girl, and that was a better experience. I told her, she tried it, but she wasn't like weird, but she was like she was very open minded though. She was into fet life. She was into poly relationships and stuff. Even though I'm not, but she's just a very open minded woman. So she did it because she embraced different fetishes. So she would have tried, I think, almost anything.
Nice, nice, and I really appreciate that. Your first time may not have been exactly perfect, but you didn't let it stop you. You didn't let it get in your way. You went right out there and asked again. You built a relationship and you asked for what you needed.
Yeah, and you know what? Like for me personally, my mindset is that when I love someone, it supersedes almost anything. It supersedes the sex part. That's gonna the sex part. Like for me, because I'm a monogamous person. So if I'm gonna stay with a person, I understand that the oxytocin is going to run out, right? So the sex, it has to be more substance to a relationship than the sex anyway. So if that didn't work out in that relationship, that's not what killed it, right? We had other personal problems that ruined that relationship. So it was amazing that we were able to try it in the first relationship I'm talking about, but it wasn't the most important thing, is what I'm saying.
For sure. Would you say you're generally public about this fetish? Are you pretty private and just with the right partners?
With the right partners and the right people, the right friends. I'm private about it because, for example, like I won't tell my family because I know who they are, and they're gonna make fun of me and judge me. But many of the people, most of the people that I have in my life that are good friends of mine, they know, and because I surround myself with a lot of people that are kind of like me. Maybe not in terms of fetishes, but open minded, where we can talk about these things. And I feel like they're not going to judge.
That's really great. And that really ties into what I was going to ask you next is how would you describe your connections with other men like your age or around that age, because obviously it's coming up in society these days. So what do you feel about that?
Yeah, man. You know how this is like a conversation right now, what we're doing. A lot of my a lot of my friends, we have these type of conversations when it's not like an interview, right? We'll just talk about it. We'll shoot the shit about these type of things, and they'll tell me what they're into. If I just met someone at a bar, I probably won't tell them. But the people that I choose, I try to choose people that you got to feel them out. And if I feel like they're open minded and they won't judge about these things, and they can have a conversation about these things. Specifically, they're open minded enough to have a nice discussion about these things. I'll definitely tell them, and not just dudes, but also women too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that makes a lot of sense because it goes back to what we say about communication. Like it's important in our relationships, but our friendships just as much so. It's maybe a shame that society doesn't encourage that more, especially between the same sexes, or at least especially between men, more specifically. But it is. I'm glad to hear that you have good relationships with your companions, both men and women around you. I feel very much the same way, and try to cultivate those relationships, which really have people that exactly what you said, can have uh, real discussions about real topics rather than, just kind of butting around about a sports game or a movie or whatever.
Oh, I hear what you're saying, man. I hear about the stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
What we're supposed to be talking about with other men, especially where I live and where I come from. So I come from New York City, which is very it's just a lot of different walks of life there, different perspectives. And now I live in a very small town in Pennsylvania. It's like only a couple thousand people that live in the town I live in. And sometimes I go to the bar, and you get what you get. You don't get too many walks of life. I mean, you get people that lived here, and so whatever they learned from generations past, and their environment, a lot of people think very similarly. Some people are more educated than others, of course, but it's just you're getting a lot of the same. What I will say was I'll be surprised if I was able to just walk into a bar and find someone that I could share something like this with. And the people that I probably can, because I've met a couple of people, are deemed as kind of the outcast of the town. The people that are a little more open minded and are more the outcasts is what I can say.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that does seem like a product of the environment you're in. Not that that's unique, because that's happening all over the country, even in city places or just outside big cities. That's a very common thing to see. But I do think, thankfully, I think with more education and more people getting to know more people on a broader spectrum, I think that is going to change. Like that small group of outcasts will grow and grow until they're not outcasts anymore, as it were.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the advancement of technology, like how we're able to do this right now.
Definitely, definitely. Did you feel like you or do you remember any media you grew up that had like fart content in it, whether it was like a small thing or like a larger focus of the show?
No, no, I really don't. Not at all. I mean, I seeked out fart porn, but besides that, no, not even small or big. It was just, I realized this is something that just turns me on, and then I sought out porn.
For sure. No,
That's
it's
it.
yeah, no, it could be just as simple as that. Do you remember when abouts that was that you first, like, I guess, thought to look for porn? Like about what age, or was that like just your puberty or
No, no, it was after puberty. I don't remember exactly, but it was definitely in my late teens, because thinking back when I hit puberty and like I didn't have this. Something that happened later. I wish I can pinpoint it, man. I so wish I could, but I can't.
No, I hear you. I'm the same way, unfortunately.
Can you?
I no, I can't because it occurred so young. Like I remember the first fantasies I can recall were in like first grade. So that's really the only point of reference I have. But that's not an origin, and it certainly doesn't tell me where I got into the idea of like liking domination. Because even back then, the fantasies I was having were very dominating and very kind of cruel in the way that I like today, to this day. And the farting was there as well. And that was like, I don't know, what is that? Like 7 years old is about first grade. So yeah, I don't know, like the farting aspect. The only thing I can do is link back to my parents and the free farting in bathroom style. But the domination is the one that is more perplexing to me, and maybe it's a more psychological, like inborn thing. I think the fetish too is inborn and is activated in the people that have the gene for it. What do you think about that?
Well, I think everything is a combination of genetics and environment. Everything. It's a term called, I think, epigenetics. Let me bring the subject real quick, just for an example, to alcoholism. Let's say someone has the genes, and there are a lot of alcoholics in their families, so they might have the gene that makes them more susceptible to alcoholism. But let's say there's four siblings, and they all have the same gene, but only one of them becomes an alcoholic. But we find out though that maybe that one had traumatic experiences in their lives. So it's like, think of a light switch. So like we all have the light switch with the potential to be turned on, which is the genes, but we need the environment thing to turn it on. So we need some sort of experience or traumatic event to turn on that light switch. So that's where the combination comes in.
That's a great analogy. I hadn't thought about it but that's very good. I like that a lot. Are you fortunate enough to have a kink scene around you, and have you been out into it?
No, not at all. The closest I've had is FetLife. I'm very fortunate that I've read your message on that and to be talking to you now because of it. Thank goodness for the internet, because people, I can only imagine people can be feeling really, really lost and feel alone. And because of the internet, you don't have to. Like I said, like I wasn't born in this town, and I moved here for different circumstances to help my parents because they moved here. But like if I was born in this town, and if it was before the internet age, I really doubt that I would have found the scene around here.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Do you enjoy having this fetish, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Turns me on. I mean, I can understand there's other maybe fetishes that people may not want, or even this one. But for me, I love it. I don't feel like it harms anyone. It doesn't harm me. I've had success in real life with it, had some experiences, and I embrace it all, you know. But I can understand, like, if I have not had maybe great experience, I had no experiences, or felt like I would never have an experience. Like, why the hell do I have this fetish? Why couldn't I have something else that more people have? But you know what? Like I said, it's possible for anybody to be able to experience these things, especially if they find a right partner that is willing to, give it a try. Especially finding someone that if they love you, most of the time they're gonna try it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would you say it's like a enhancement to your sex life, or do you feel like it's like a completely separate thing? Like it does something completely separate in a way that other sex or other kinks might not do for you?
Both. So it does enhance it, because if I'm doing it with my girlfriend, then it's great. But also at the same time, sometimes like I'll have sex with my girlfriend to please her, and then afterwards, like I won't come, just so like I'll make sure she's good, but I won't come, just so then separately she can make me come by farting.
Yeah. Wow, that sounds awesome. That's a great, mutual exchange. I love to hear that. What are your thoughts on the future of the fetish, whether it be for yourself or the fetish at large?
I was thinking about this. This fetish has been around, of course, as I'm sure humans have been around. And the I remember reading something about James Joyce. He's an Irish author. You know him?
Yeah, yeah.
People have been into this for a long time. But back in the early 20th century, I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't know this. Now, what do we have? I mean, we're able to have this little podcast. We're able to look this stuff up. Go on FetLife. People are, women are farting in jars and selling it to people. So I would say that the fart fetish is doing pretty good, and the progression of technology, as long as it keeps progressing, this is going to progress, and it's going to reach more people, and people aren't going to feel alone. That's the only thing, I really care about most, is people not feeling alone and feeling like, damn, I have this damn, what is this? Why I can't tell anybody? Nah. Now you can tell people, talk about it, meet people that are interested in it. You're going to be all right.
That's awesome, Darryl. That's a great way to end this podcast, and I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join us today, and really giving us some great insight into you. Your example can be great advice, so I really appreciate it, and thank you again for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me, Raj. I really appreciate it. It was very nice to talk openly about this, especially on your podcast, man.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.